This remarkable scientific medicine helps relieve most cold symptoms caused by every known virus. Every known virus.
Hello, Miko. So, welcome to 1977. You wanted to see a bunch of records, but before we get into it, I thought it'd be fun to investigate what was going on in Finland, musically, in 1977. So let's check it out.
Niin kuin Donald Duck. Jack oli niin kuin Donald Duck. Aatelinen on tää Newman. Tarjo päivän kakkaraa. Vankius.
Piiloon missään eivät tunteet jää.
Sä olet liian soma.
Jos oot toisen oma, mutta kuitenkin. Mä sulle kaiken antaa tahtoisin.
Ottamaan sitä jään. Jos kaikki rockilaulajat olis niin kuin sä. En muuta kuin rockia kuuntelis mä enää ikinä.
Was it all this way? You tell me. I mean, because what I'm seeing here is pretty strange. But, you know, some of it is not that bad, like this. So, did you like that? Miko, you're going to have to tell me, there had to have been more music, good music, in 1977. I did find a clip from a band called Sleepy Sleepers, and they were a punk band from Finland, and they had a very interesting interview. I'd love to have found more music from those guys, but you're going to have to tell me what was good in 1977. Anyway, I've selected 10 albums that I think are representative of my taste. I have a lot more from 77 which I could show, but I didn't want this video to last too long. I don't like it when my videos go too long. I'm always worried about boring some of my viewers. But anyway, I selected some albums which are personal favorites, and then some albums that are probably a little bit outside of the norm, or I'm going to include some sound samples where I can. But let's get into it, shall we? First up is probably my favorite album of 1977, and this one has been shown by several people, and I can totally understand that, and that is Pink Floyd's Animals. And this guy was sandwiched in between The Wall and Wish You Were Here. This just happens to be the 2016 remaster done by Bernie Grundman. Again, I suspect that this was done from a digital source, but it sounds fantastic. This was pressed at the Record Industry like I'm showing you here. Now, this was the first Floyd album I had listened to in its entirety. In the early 90s, I was working as a dishwasher at a Holiday Inn restaurant, and in that in the kitchen area, they had a box full of cassettes, and Pink Floyd's Animals was one of those cassettes, and yeah, it was the first one that I had listened to in its entirety. I mean, Gilmour's guitar playing is just phenomenal. Roger Waters, the storytelling on this particular album is just fantastic in my opinion, and I think it gets overlooked by a lot of people because there's not like a radio-friendly single on this one. So, Wish You Were Here and The Wall all had radio-friendly singles, and so this album, at least in my area, never got played on the radio. So just finding it on cassette and listening to it and being forced to listen to it, you know, it just left a lasting impression. And it remains one of my favorite Floyd albums. Now let's go to second album I want to show you. So this is kind of a underlooked gem from '77. It's really kind of the foundation and the beginnings of the new wave movement that really bled into the '80s. But this is Suicide, and you know, I'd love to have an original of this guy. It's just fantastic. It's very minimalistic in its approach, so it's just a guy on a keyboard with a drum machine and a guy singing. So Martin Rev and Alan Vega. Now, I really wish these guys were a little bit more prolific, but they weren't. This is really the highlight, their debut album. But you know, they were big at CBGB's in New York, the famous club that had a lot of punk acts, and you know, there's just nothing like it that came out that year, at least not that I'm aware of. If you guys know more, let me know. But this one, because it is kind of a underground gem, let me play you a sample.
Ghost rider, motorcycle hero. Baby, he's a looking so cute.
So the next one I have to show you from '77. This one is a prog band, but they're from the Far East. They're from Japan, and this is the Far East Family Band, and this is a prog classic. Now, if you do a lot of reading on it, there's analogies to Pink Floyd here, and I think they're pretty well justified, but it's different. The main musician is Fumio Miyashita, and if you look at it, you know, he's playing a lot of different instruments. And this, I wish I could play you the album in its entirety, because there's so many sections that are just fantastic. They sing in English and they also sing in Japanese, but you know, a lot of people, because it's not in English, it can be a distraction, at least to the guys in the United States. That's why foreign records don't sell that well here. But this is just fantastic musically. And this did get a US distribution, and there's some really cool stuff in the dead wax here. Which, let me read to you. Music in the soul can be heard by the universe. And the flip side has a message: with Tenkujin, we would like to share this message with the world. So let me just play a sound sample for you here. So, did you like that? I mean, these guys, I don't think would be as popular as they were. And I mean, they're not grandiose, at least here in the United States or maybe Europe. But the famous German electronic composer Klaus Schulze was the guy that really put these guys on the map in the Western world. So, Far East Family Band, Tenkujin. Next up is a sentimental favorite. In 1977, I went and saw this movie at the drive-in, and hey, you were born the year that this movie came out, and it's the 40th anniversary, and that is Star Wars. This is just a classic. A drive-in theater, if you're not aware, is one that you drive into a car. I don't know if they were around in Europe, but they were really big in the United States. And, you know, with the advent of newer technologies, plus daylight savings time, I think, it really kind of killed the drive-in theater concept, but they were fun, and I saw this guy at a drive-in theater, and I used to play this thing to death when I was a kid. So, Star Wars. And this was done at the mastering lab like I'm showing you here, and it just doesn't get any better. My friend Dr. Robert did a video where he got a Japanese press I highly recommend checking this video out because it is entertaining. Next up is a Polish prog band, and that is SBB. I'm not even going to try and pronounce the title, but here it is for you. This is another one where I wish I could play the album in its entirety for you. And I'm just going to play you a small sample. But these guys were around since about 74, and I think this was the 4th album that they came out with. And all their 70s stuff is just fantastic. It's jazzy at points, you know, and they do sing from time to time, but man, it is just fantastic from beginning to end. I don't think this really got a repress at all, so it's a little bit difficult to find, but this is an original Polish press. Wish I knew more about Soviet pressing plants, but I don't. But yeah, that is SBB, and here's a sound sample. Next up is a blues album. This is one of my favorite blues artists, and in 1977 Johnny Winter reinvigorated this guy's career, and that is Muddy Waters, Hard Again. And the opening track is really the one, when I play it everybody recognizes it, predominantly to the movie Risky Business. But this is just a fantastic album, and the song Manish Boy this is a re-recording, and I honestly think it's the masterpiece of the album. But you have Johnny Winter playing in the background here, and he's doing the howling, and it's just fantastic. This one is a promo. Check out 000. Hey, was it the first one off a lot? I don't know. But this is on Blue Sky. Fantastic record by Muddy Waters during the latter part of his career, and here is Manish Boy for you.
Now when I was a young boy at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man, way past 21.
Okay, the next one I'm going to profess, this is probably not going to be everyone's cup of tea. But my favorite ambient artist, or New Age, I hate that term New Age. I don't know why. It's like they lump all the electronic, relaxing, piano, chanting music all together, and they just call it New Age. But this guy is really an ambient electronic composer. My favorite, of course, and that is Michael Stearns, and this was his debut album as a solo artist. He was a professional musician in the late 60s, but in 77 he came out with a solo record called Ancient Leaves. It is basically 2 long pieces, and it does mix electronic with original instrumentation. You have some chanting going on in the background. As the record description would state, it's really one where you want to turn off the lights and kind of relax to and listen to in its entirety. And I can't agree more. This is another one like the prog albums where, you know, I'm going to give you a small sample of this, but the samples really don't do it justice. You really got to hear the entire piece. But here we go. Here's a sample. '77 also put out my favorite album by this artist, Iggy Pop. Of course, the title track, Lust for Life. And if it wasn't for the movie Trainspotting, I probably would not have dug into this or into his career at all. I mean, I discovered him through that movie, and then, you know, that linked me to the Stooges, of course, and Trainspotting 2 or T2 just came out, and it's I haven't seen it. I'm very curious. I bought the soundtrack, and the soundtrack has this wonderful remix of Lust for Life by The Prodigy, and, you know, it's interesting to see that 20-year take. So this album is now 40 years old, and, you know, seeing it at 20 years later and now 40 years later in the rendition on the T2 or Trainspotting 2 soundtrack is just fantastic. But this album is very solid. I'm not going to play a clip from this one because I think everyone knows this track. Everyone knows pieces from this album. But I can't recommend it enough. Next one is one that's probably off the radar for most folks. The guys in France can tell me if it was good or not. What I'm finding is, you know, you're kind of shooting in the dark when you're not in the country. You don't know what's popular or not. But I just happen to like some of this musician's stuff. And it's Véronique Sanson, and this is her Hollywood album. Now, in '77, she actually went out to Hollywood, California, and she decided to cut an album there. And this is soul funk, but it has a little bit of disco in it, or a disco tinge, I want to say. But, you know, she grabbed American studio musicians. And two of the most noteworthy ones are Ray Parker Jr. So those who don't know Ray Parker Jr., think Ghostbusters. And then Richie Zito. And Richie Zito is a guitarist, and he's also a producer, arranger. You know, he did the arrangements on Ringo Starr album. He also wrote for Poison. He's had a very varied career. He did some tracks for the movie Scarface. I like this picture. Disco sucks. Yeah, but, you know, I like some disco, but I also was seeing the disco hate. It always makes me laugh because, you know, I like the punk, I like the heavy metal, and, you know, sometimes the little infights can be kind of funny to watch. But this is Dominique Sanson. Let me play you a track on here just so you get a flavor for what it's like. Here you go. Last album I have for you. Now, some people are going to give me crap for showing this, but this is a sentimental favorite because in '77 my parents had this one on cassette along with Billy Joel's The Stranger, and, you know, hearing those cassettes over and over again, you know, it left a lasting impression on me. Now, I didn't totally get sold on everything that my parents liked, but for some reason this one really stuck with me, and that is Abba The Album. And this came out at the end of '77, and it does feature Take a Chance on Me, The Name of the Game, One Man, One Woman, my favorite, The Eagle, which is the opening track. Yeah, I have an affinity for ABBA, so sue me. This is a reissue. It was done at Optimal. You know, I have never seen an original of this one in the shops. I've seen a lot of other ones. But this is the one, if I do see an original, I kind of like to do a shootout between the two. So that's what I have for you for '77. Happy birthday, my friend. You're only 40 once, so enjoy it. After that, you just have a lot of reflection on, gee, I wish I would have done that, I would have done this. I want my youth back, I want my 20s back, I want my 30s back. But enjoy it. And for all of you that are watching, shoot me a comment down below if you got some other recommendations from '77. And thank you for watching.